Hey, you are listening to the Six Figure Photography Podcast with Ben Hartley and Noella Andre. Today on the show, we are thrilled to welcome D'Arcy Benincosa, an absolute force in the world of photography education and brand strategy. D'Arcy, she's built not one, but two six-figure photography businesses, a thriving seven-figure education brand. She's photographed glamorous weddings across 30 countries, helped countless photographers level up from 5K to 25K dream clients. And in this episode, we're diving deep into the real strategy behind building value for your brand. So you're not just booking more, but you're booking better. We're going to cover how to refine your style, clarify your message, craft magnetic proposals that can open doors to the luxury market, and majorly boost your income. Let's jump in and talk to D'Arcy. Hi.
Hi.
What
What a voice for radio.
Right?
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, he's definitely got the radio voice.
Yes,
How
he
are you,
does.
D'Arcy? You good?
I am so excited to be here to talk with both of you. There's nothing more I love talking about than growing businesses, making money, living passions, being creative, all of that stuff. So thanks for having me.
I think it's our pleasure. D'Arcy, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience, but in particular, what I'm curious about is kind of the journey from photographer to business coach.
Yes. The beautiful journey of when should you teach and when should you do. So I started my photography journey in terms of starting a business quite late in my life. Like I was in my early 30s, so I had taken photos. I moved to Paris when I was 20, had a little black and white camera, went around and shot all these beautiful scenes in Paris. And it was always just something that was a hobby. And I remember going to a workshop with John Canlis, the Find Workshop, way back in the day. And he showed me how much money he was making in photography. And he said, this can be more than just a hobby. And it really inspired me to think, oh my gosh, if he's doing it, I can do it. How do I do it? And so I dove in. Now, what I think I brought to my photography business was already 2 years of marketing. So I went to marketing conferences before I ever decided to start a photography business. And what was awesome is nobody in the marketing area was a photographer. They were all like online business owners. And so I had to take all their information and think, how do I apply this to like an actual luxury brand? How do I apply this to something where it is creative and I am selling services? I am doing one-to-one, not one-to-many. And so I feel like within the first year of full-time business, I went from $16,000 to $120,000. And I scaled very quickly from $2,700 weddings into 45. And then about, I would say, 13 months in, I booked my first 10K package. But this is because I have been refining my style and my voice for a long time as an artist without the pressure of it needing to make money because I already had a day job. And then by 2 years in, how fast I scaled, I just decided to put on my first workshop because I'm really good at creating beautiful things. And so I was like, I'll just create beautiful things and I'll create these beautiful shoots and really talk about how to define your style. You know, I was an English major, so storytelling and voice and words actually came way easier to me than photography. And photography is, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but you also need the words to go with the photos to sell the brand. And so I just got really into creating my own brand. I loved it. And so then I opened up my coaching business. My first coaching client was Kristen Sweeting. Do you guys, everybody knows
I love
her?
her. I just talked to her the other
Way
day.
back in the day, Kristen, hi. She was the very first one who booked me for coaching services, and it was revolutionary, and I loved it. And so I put together a program where I led photographers basically through what I had done myself because I built my business very, very quickly, which was so fun and awesome and a lot of work.
Yeah. You mentioned like the rapid scale of moving pricing up, even just jumping in, starting a workshop, like, you know, and now you've built these businesses even further beyond that. I'm curious around the mindset adjustments that had to take place, or maybe not even adjustments for you, maybe just had it. But if you could identify like what that mindset that you needed was, or maybe a listener, like a shift that they might need to make in order to make those type of decisions to scale, to move price up, like what would it be?
Well, the first thing is I had to get really I have a thing where I say with my good friend Chelsea who helped brand me, I say don't brand alone. Oftentimes when I have people come to me and they're like, "Why am I not booking luxury?" I can see it in 10 seconds. I'm like, "This is why," and they can't see it. If they could see it, they would be doing it. And so I spent a lot of time learning branding, learning what signals luxury, learning how to have the kinds of conversations and even have the kinds of ways that I ask questions and the ways that I communicated. What happened to me at the beginning, because I grew up pretty poor and I never had a lot of money growing up. So I started to project my own money fears onto clients and being like, oh my gosh, how could they ever afford this? But I call it an apprenticeship in luxury because without being a photographer, I went and worked for a luxury clinic in Switzerland.
Hmm.
They were making 10 million a year just from one client. Like we were having $2,000 bottles of wine at dinner. I was wearing an Old Navy coat. I'm like, okay, this is not like, and I watched how they talked. I got an apprenticeship in a luxury brand, a luxury clinic. And I really was able to build where I can see clearly where the gaps were. So that was first and foremost. I really was aware that I had gaps and I found the right people to help me see the gaps. And then once I saw them, I could go through that. The second thing is I had to stop projecting my own money stories onto my clients. And that required me to do a lot of digging into my money mindset. And so I even had created a little course called the Money Map, where I just walked people through exactly the processes that I went through, because I do think our relationship to money is one of the most important relationships we have if we are running a business, especially if we are defining our worth by how much we're making, because that can get kind of tricky in the world of your growth. However, it's a really important question to look at, like, am I projecting my money fears onto others? And you can tell in the sales call. If you can't hold, I call it holding the field. I study with a somatic worker and she's like, you have to hold the energetic field. If you're having a meeting and they're planning a multi-million-dollar wedding and you're insecure about yourself, it can be felt in the energetic field. So you learning how to hold, just knowing your worth, which so many sweet creatives don't know yet. God bless them.
Don't know, or there's imposter syndrome too around it, right? Not only do they not
Yeah.
know their worth, but they don't think their worth.
Yeah. And that imposter syndrome really goes away when you don't want it to go away. There's like a fine line of being like an arrogant asshole, right? Can I swear on this? I don't know. But also like too humble where you're self-deprecating. There's a beautiful space where you can hold your knowing, and that's a really powerful space. I actually learned that. And if you don't, then you hire people who do. I'll tell a quick story of one of my first jobs that had me quit my day job. Was I got a job hired by Sports Illustrated magazine. And I was so green, you guys. And it was photographing all the Winter Olympians up in Park City. I wasn't the photographer. That was a very famous person. They don't let a newbie become the lead photographer, but I was his assistant. And I had to do all this lighting setup and everything. And the pay wasn't great, but I said, yes, of course. I know exactly how to do everything you're asking. And I didn't know it all. I was a natural light photographer. I hired my friend, Dustin, who was a wizard. I basically gave him all my paycheck and got him a job. And I said, whatever you do, you're going to make it look like I know exactly what I'm doing. And you're going to teach me, you're going to teach me on the way. And I got a crash course in those 5 days. And I became a wizard at setting up artificial light after that. So I jumped in before I was ready, but I also didn't naively just go in there. And I hired the expert They just didn't know. And I looked like the expert and built that relationship, which was really cool.
I love that.
And that is called smarts, kid, street smarts.
I fully believe in hiring experts. I think all the experts that everyone is watching, they're all hiring experts. It's like this. If there ever was a cheat code to like leveling up and moving faster, it's find someone who's already done it, and then just go and hire them. And not just anybody, but like done it the best.
Yeah.
Hire the person who did it the best.
Agreed.
Can I ask? There's an elephant in the room for me. It's fine out for you. So, but I have to ask it because the last couple episodes we've done, it's kind of come up a couple times.
Okay.
And I'm curious if you've experienced this and what your thoughts are on this. There's been this like resistance to the word luxury that we've experienced here in the last year. And there's been a few episodes that have kind of been, we've had around this idea of almost like anti-luxury or something. And so that's what's going on in my mind right now. And I was curious if you've experienced that, like this idea of like, stop trying to pursue like luxury. It's not luxury that we're after. It's something different. And I kind of just wanted to hear your take on that. Again, I just put you on your toes here a little bit, but I'm just curious what your take is of this. Maybe it's a semantics thing too.
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really honest. I love shooting luxury weddings. I love it. I freaking love it. And I feel like what people might be not liking in the way where our phraseology or whatever is, they maybe think that a luxury wedding is only focusing on material aspects, like, a couture dress and Jimmy Choo's and Cartier and things like that, which they can, because those are signals of rites of passage there are the luxury weddings where they're going to get a Cartier watch because that's a rite of passage. Like I remember one wedding, probably the wealthiest wedding I ever shot. It was an NDA and I could never share it, but it was in Singapore. And at the tea ceremony, the parents gave the bride like a $500,000 diamond necklace. And it was part of the ceremony. They passed down their jewels. So yes, there is a real luxury market. And if people don't want to participate in that luxury market, that's fine. When I say luxury, I do think it is a specific type of branding, because what people are wanting now is somebody who will pay them well, who maybe is more, I don't know, maybe they're more authentic, or they're not doing the traditional wedding, or they're selling off to south of France, but they're having it really intimate and they don't care about the stuff or the material. I'm not sure. To me, it's not an important, like I have studied, for me, I'm a brander. And the thing is, it's so funny because I have this conversation with my branding friend where it's like, okay, we talk about the 99% and then the 1%. The 1% are usually the ones who are buying the, Baccarat crystal and the Chanel bags or whatever in terms of old money. And it's like, why wouldn't you just sell? If 1% has 90% of the income on the planet, why don't you just sell to that 1%? But I think some people maybe feel morally wrong to sell to people that they perceive as maybe gatekeeping wealth, or so I think it's a moral question where some people are like, well, I don't want to just sell to wealthy people because I think they're destroying the world. And I think, I have really wealthy clients who also do a lot of good, because as much as you can look and focus on how bad and horrible the 1% are, also the 1%, like, lover or hater, everybody's like hating on JK Rowling right now, but she lost her billionaire status to end sex trafficking because she's giving so much money away. So good and bad exists everywhere. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you're ethical and amazing. No. Yeah. My parents just got scammed out of $25,000. It's heartbreaking. They're old and my dad is senile and he fell for a scam. And you can't tell me that's like a good, they're probably a poor person who's justifying stealing money. But like, so to me, I don't know, that's probably a long answer for luxury, but I love serving luxury clients. I love understanding luxury brands. I like giving my pricing to people who are not going to price shop me. Like, it's really nice.
Yeah. That's great. There's no right or wrong there. I appreciated that you're just like, well, I like serving luxury and I like calling it luxury. I think for everyone out there who's like wanting to say, hey, I never use the word luxury on my website, you know, I think there's people that it still makes sense to position yourself in that way.
Well,
I
it's
think,
hard because it is, oh, sorry, Noella. It's like fine art. Everybody just started slapping that word on, whether
Yeah.
they were
Mhm.
luxury or not. So now the word is becoming meaningless.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's like, what
So,
does the word luxury mean anymore? You know, that I think it means something different for everyone as well. And that's maybe where some of the like misconceptions are.
well,
So,
for me, it's the old school definition, and that's what it means, and that's what I use. And yeah, but it can always be interpreted anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
may I ask, what is the old school definition?
Well, it's just luxury. It's like an item. Yeah, it's an item that's rare, simple. It has experiential novelty. It is aspirational and it's exclusive. So you
Yeah.
can't be a luxury photographer if you're shooting 40 weddings a year. You just can't. That is not exclusivity.
Yeah. I like that. I
I
also
like
like
that
what
you
you
said old money too. That was what I
Yeah, and
pulled up.
that's the thing is these new luxury wedding, they call them the nouveau riche or whatever. It's like you can tell old money versus new money. You can tell Kate Middleton versus Cardi B, right? Like there's a difference. And so there is a new definition of people who can now afford these bigger weddings who don't want to go like maybe more a traditional luxurious opulent route, right? So I think that's where people are like, am I luxury, am I not? I like elevated too. Like you don't have to go after the super luxury weddings, but you can be an elevated brand who gets paid well for their art. And being an artist is the most important part of charging higher prices. You can't just be a photographer. A photographer will get price shopped, an artist will not.
I like that. Staying on this topic of luxury, high end, elevated, like in your experience, what are the key ingredients that make a brand be perceived as that?
Well, first of all, is just your portfolio. If
Mm,
you have done styled shoots that cost $2,000, it's going to show that it is $2,000. You need to be invested. Like models are the first models and venue. So how your people look, whether they look like a model or not, because some people go too far with editorial and their models are just like looking bitchy all day long and they don't look soft and feminine or their models are like 19 years old, that also doesn't work, right? So when I get a lot of people are like, D'Arcy, what kind of styled shoot should I do? I go, the venue and who they hire as the model is the most important thing. So if they're hiring somebody 25 and younger, which so many do, my luxury clients are in their late 20s, 30s. So I can't have like a guy who looks like he just graduated from high school be the model. One of my worst shoots in France, the guy got COVID and I had to hire this backup and he showed up and he looked 18 and I just didn't really use him. I like kept turning him around. I used the back of his head. I kind of used him as a little prop because our bride was stunning. But I think really understanding your portfolio and that your portfolio is signaling that you have a fine aesthetic and art and an artistic voice and things to say. And too many photographers look at what other photographers have done and kind of mimic that without putting their own spin on it. And so putting your own spin on it is really important.
The big takeaway that
But
I had is that
yeah.
I am like fine wine. I'm just hitting
Oh,
my, so that's the takeaway that I had. I was like, this is my time.
you're
Mid
in your
30s,
prime to model for D'Arcy,
late
basically.
30s, I'll
She would
model for
use you in a
you.
photo shoot. She would not just use the back of your head.
It is true. Get over here. Let's put a tux on you. You've got hair. You've got the hair of a Greek god. Like,
You
let's do
know,
it.
I'm starting to get a little silver in there too. Let's
Oh, the
go.
silver
Ooh,
fox.
silver
That's
fox. Yeah.
great.
That was my takeaway. I don't know what everybody else's was.
I know. I hope I didn't get too sidetracked. Anyway.
I just want to validate that. I do a lot of portfolio reviews as well. And you totally nailed it. When I see like an 18-year-old and these very like they're trying really hard to give luxury, but they're like these babies. And there's this, it's a weird juxtaposition that it's like it's just not clicking and it screams fake. Like it screams styled
Oh,
shoe.
yeah.
And
It
there's a
does.
disconnect there. Yeah.
And
When
I've
you
done
want to
style
show
shoots.
the type of work, right, that you want to attract too, that's part of it.
Well, you have to know it. And so when I see
Mhm.
shoots like that and they're putting them front and center on their website, I'm like, they obviously can't see
Yeah.
where they need to be. And that's okay. We were all like that. My first shoot, I ordered all this bakery stuff and like did these flat lays. And I look back at those, I'm like, oh God, those are so bad. But we grow and we learn. And then as we do that, as we get better, our prices raise. And so it's just about the amount of time you can accelerate. Like I've seen people for 10 years stuck in the same price bracket because they don't grow and they just keep serving the same clients and they don't know how to up level. And I've seen people go from 5,000 to 25,000 within the space of 2.5 years because not only did they really understand how to up level, they networked and they just like served everybody like crazy and really, did that. So yeah, I think, and yeah, speaking of wine, like even branding wine, let me hit on one more part of a luxury experience. So they do this study with a bottle of wine. One they have marked at $10 and one they have marked at 100. It's the same bottle of wine. And so when people are understanding, they taste test, they're like, I'm going to taste the $10. They're like, okay, I'm going to taste the 100. Well, people always say the $100 bottle of wine tastes better. And so they're like, oh yeah, because it's perceived as more value. But what they don't understand is it actually tastes better because humans, when they're about to taste $100 bottle of wine versus a 10, they're they start salivating and they get
Mhm.
glucose in their mouth from the excitement. And so the $100 bottle of wine actually tastes different. It tastes sweeter and it tastes better for them because they have created an inside reaction. So when I'm putting together a luxury client experience, my clients are actually having a better experience because of the way they're perceiving the value of what I'm giving them. And that is just like such, if people could understand what is happening psychologically with the person when they're working with you. And that's the other thing. I see people are like, I'll never forget the funniest like discovery call I ever did. It was this mom, God bless her, and she was charging 2,000 and she's like, "Yeah, I just need to charge 10,000." And I'm like, cool, don't we all? She just wanted me to tell her that she could charge 10,000. I'm like, you can't charge 10,000. I can do whatever I want. I'm like, awesome. She's like, I did it. I'm like, yeah. And you're not getting a single booking because you, one, don't have any infrastructure to create a $10,000 experience for your clients. So even as much as you want to charge more and you're like, I need to know my worth, we make it so personal. It's like, yes, know your worth and also know what good psychology, like know what a good
Yeah.
client journey looks like, because that will make them salivate in such a way that they're having an incredible experience. And then they tell their friends. And that's really how you get into the luxury world because they're very risk adverse. So they're not going to take a chance on somebody they haven't had fully recommended to them.
Mhm. That makes sense. I love that. The wine story, that's a good one. D'Arcy, how do you think that refining your style plays into booking higher end, like top dollar clients?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was saying. You can be a photographer. Photographers get price shopped. If you're an artist with an artistic voice, then you get booked on your artistry. Do you guys know Jamie Beck?
Should
She's
I?
she's an amazing photographer. She has like 500,000 followers on Instagram. She lives in Provence and she does mostly self-portraits, but she will once a year, every couple years do print sales. Well, she'll sell her prints for $15,000. And the reason she does it so brilliantly because she gets the people who make the frame are the same. It's a very old French company who have been in business for hundreds of years. It's been passed down. They make all the frames for all the paintings in the Louvre and all the big museums in Europe. She shows you their custom step-by-step process of how they make the frame. By the end of it, you're like, I will pay whatever this frame costs because of the expertise, the craftsmanship, and the artistry that went into this frame. And every time I look at this frame, I'm going to know the whole story of why, like,
Mhm.
I have a print in my house framed by the same frame company that made the frame that's holding the Mona Lisa.
Hmm.
So that to me is how you, I can't even remember the question. Where am I going with this? Just like basically how you build a luxury brand. Help me. What was
Yeah.
I?
How to, what part does refining your
Oh,
style
refining your
play in
style. Yes.
attracting? Yeah.
So if you're just posting the same images as everybody else and you get your frames from Target and stuff, like then you're going to have Target pricing. But if you can create this signature artistic vision, and that's one of the things I do when I'm doing portfolio reviews is I will go through and find 2 or 3 images where they're just hitting on something very unique to say that's very different. It's really cool. I just finished up my last round of my profitable portfolio, and there was a newer photographer in there, and he had and has one of the most incredible artistic visions I've seen right out the gate. And I had to like use him as an example of like, guys, this is what we're talking about. Like everything felt so different that he could truly, and he hasn't booked a lot of weddings and he needs to get the wedding experience, but from his portfolio, he could start booking $15,000 weddings right now because his artistic vision and voice and the way he sees things and how he's telling the story is so key. So yeah, it's really powerful. I have a whole like hour-long masterclass on helping people see how to start seeing their work differently that we can link to. It's free and you can just go watch it. But yeah, it is becoming that artist. It's becoming the artist for sure.
So thinking about portfolios a little bit more, what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing photographers making with their portfolios?
Well, one, they haven't chosen one client to focus on. So it looks like they'll have a boho wedding and then they'll have a golden hour and then they'll have I saw one the other day that had like this New York City session and she had edited it really cool, but then she had this warm, like out in the mountain session that was really like yellow. And you look at the homepage and it's like 5 different photographers could be here. And I don't know which one you actually are. And so I don't know to book you. I'm confused. So I'm going to go find somebody who aligns with my style. And I know why people do it. It's the same old thing while businesses have done it every single time. They're trying to appeal to a lot of people because they don't want to lose out on business. But it's a reverse thing because the more you can just do one person. And I get it. Like if you're doing New York City weddings and then you get a wedding in Hawaii, you can still have that, just maybe not on your homepage. Like wherever you're making the most amount of your money and wherever you're niching, you need to really niche. The other thing with portfolios is the editing style. So just not having a consistent editing style because you don't understand light enough. I'll never forget this story about Jose Villa that I learned really early on in my career. And Jose, I hope this is true. Somebody said it. So I hope it's true. But like at the beginning of his career, when he was photographing these engagement sessions, he did it at the same time every day in the same light. And he helped them all understand what to wear. And then his photos became so consistent because it was always like 5 p.m. golden hour in California. And everybody knows that's like magic. And what I see too many photographers do is bend to the will of their client. So their client's like, I want a sunrise session in the mountains of Utah. Well, I'll tell you, Utah light at sunlight in the mountains is jackass ugly. Like it is so ugly. I cannot make it look good. I can't. There's nothing I can do to make that like look good, especially in the two most popular locations where people want to get it. And I'm like, we can't do it at sunrise. You are going to have to rearrange your whole schedule because the best time to do that is 6 p.m. because the golden actually happens in the morning in Utah, not at the night. It's kind of weird, but it's the way the sun hits the green on the mountains. So we just have to take more ownership of making the shoots look good instead of just trying to please the clients on when they say they're available. And we have to really be the director. I think that's the first time I've ever said jackass ugly too. I don't know where that came from, but.
So I want to go back. I want to tie back to something luxury that you just said that I think actually connects with in my opinion, the definition. I think that a lot of times as photographers, we're trying to make everything, I don't know if photographers, just as like solopreneurs, as like people pleasers, we think that a better client experience is one that the client is always right. We're going to make it as easy as possible to give them the the most convenient, the fastest, whatever they want. And and I get the idea. And I think that can work in certain situations, but I actually think like part of the definition of luxury to me also is that exclusivity part. It also means it's not always the most convenient. There's actually sometimes some pain, actual pain attached to it. And in many ways, that's actually what creates intrinsic value in it. Is that it's I know it sounds really like paradoxical, but there's a degree of inconvenience at times that actually can increase the value of a luxury product versus a commoditized everyday, anybody can get it. It's just, it's all very like just feature focused, like the lowest level of value. And I think it's interesting when you start to turn that on its head and actually like, there's actually some degree of perceived value in you saying no. If we're going to do it, it's going to be at this time. What's your take on that?
They want that direction. Like I was just, as you were talking about that, I was thinking of like how I do my getting ready photos. I will not take a picture of a bride in a chair with like all this makeup around her set on a black towel with like the makeup station is so chaotic. I stage my makeup session. I don't do it there. I get it. I get that people want to do candid documentary style. I'm not that. I'm here to give the ideal, the beauty. I'm here to create, you know, so one of the biggest things in luxury brands is simplicity. So when I see people and another portfolio thing is when they've got trees coming out of their head, they've got a picket fence over here, another color fence over here. They didn't choose that. They chose a background that has so many things happening. I'm like, there's no way this could look luxury because luxury is simplistic. It is beautiful. It is calm. It is all of these things. Like you think of all the classic wedding portraits. It's not like a yellow taxi was driving by in the background. It's like they're at a villa and it's a textured wall and she looks like she looks art. The bride looks like a portrait taken way back in the day. And I was just thinking, like, I remember a story of sometimes people who would model for Picasso and just how not easy it was. And so I agree. I think they're not looking for like it's that whole saying, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So if you go the easiest route and you're like, yeah, I'll make it work. Yeah, I'll photograph you in Paris on a Monday afternoon at 2 or 3 p.m. when everybody's out. No, it's a headache. It's going to make it, you have to get up at 5 a.m. and we have to go to these 3 spots. And so I agree that it is our job to hold the work to a higher standard, but you can also make it really fun and get them on board with it. When you come with your expertise and you say, I know you want a sunrise mountain shoot. I'm telling you right now, we will have to fly to these mountains. They're the ones that can do it. It's like whenever I photograph on the East Coast and they're like, we want to do our first look at 5 p.m. I'm like, if it's in the fall, like if it's October, it will be dark. So we can't. We have to do a morning after session and we have to do these other things. They don't know what they don't know. They have not been married before generally, and they have not worked with you before. They see your work. So, and how I learned about the mountain light is I listened to a client who really wanted that. They had seen all my work. I took him up there. The second it was happening, I'm like, this is the ugliest light. And my work will not look like the work they are expecting because I am not a magician and I can't fix this situation just because I'm a good photographer. And I took them and I delivered them and I said, we're doing another session because this was not up to my standard. And they got it. They were like, yeah, we, I couldn't get the soft look in all these harsh places. And if I put them in like a shaded tree, then they got a green so after that, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm trusting myself. I'm not going to make my clients do this twice. And I'm just going to have to tell them no when it's not going to work.
I love that. Especially, I'm a big time people pleaser. And when I was a photographer, I just did exactly what the client wanted. I mean, I still do to this day.
You can still give them what they want, just with boundaries.
With some boundaries. Yeah, exactly. You talked a bit about that woman who had mentioned to you that she wanted to just bump her prices up to $10,000. I want to touch on that a little bit more because I'm curious what your advice would be to a photographer who wanted to maybe push themselves into the next bracket of pricing. What advice do you have for someone?
Well, I think the first sign that you're ready to do that is that people are booking your top package. If you book your top package more than 3 times, then you should raise your pricing, because the top package exists as an anchor point to show people the value of what they're looking at. It's not there to be booked. And all this sales psychology and pricing and everything I've studied, it's an anchor price. So if you book your top package, you're ready to up level. If your inquiries are raising, and if you're booking, like, if you're booked out every weekend, oh my gosh, please double your rates right now and lose half of the ones who won't book you and still make the same amount of money. Like, why would people not do that? And that's their own scarcity mindset to get out of, because I think in our Western capitalistic world, we feel better about ourselves when we're super busy. We wear it as a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm busy. And we're worried if we become less busy and we actually have time to meditate and go on a walk, heaven forbid, that we're gonna like lose everything or something. So that's a big thing to get over. But there are telltale signs that you're ready to raise your pricing, because your audience is telling you you're really in demand. If you're not even getting bookings at your current pricing, don't raise your pricing yet. We need to fix the brand first before we fix the pricing.
What advice do you have for photographers who, I said that really fast. Let me slow it
I got
down.
it.
What
Yes.
advice?
All that
Maybe
Red
the
Bull,
listeners don't. I was
all
like,
that,
boom.
all that Red Bull Ben's
I know.
drinking over there.
So no, it's a recording day. What advice do you have for photographers who they feel stuck? They feel stuck at like that 2K range, 2 to 5K. I see a lot at that 3,400, 3,500 kind of price point, and they're scared to raise their prices. What kind of advice do you have for them?
My advice is to freaking put the pricing aside and go out and reconnect with your creativity again. Creativity is what we get paid for. So if you're harping like, I just get only barn weddings, everybody's price shopping me, I'm like, I'm going to slap you across the face. I'm going to say, snap out of it and go out and create something you feel good about, instead of focusing on the weddings that are being given to you that you don't like, or approach the next wedding in a way that you are not just like, oh, I'm only getting paid $2,000 for this. Pretend you're getting paid 10 and see how you would show up differently, because you have to become the $10,000 plus photographer before you can charge it. So you don't just charge it and then become it. No, that's not the law of attraction. That's not anything. You have to become it. So if you can just change your attitude about the weddings and then go out. I remember one of my first big bookings, and the planner found me because I put on this incredible shoot in Paris that really captured people's attention. And it was really just amazing, because I have such good vision of what a luxury brand is. And she was like, my clients loved it. I love it. Can we get a quote from you? And that's how I like open the door. So people are always like, how do we get into, with planners? And it's really, really hard. Again, the luxury world is very risk averse. And even if you're not trying to go luxury, the higher people are paying for you, the less chance they want to take. And so you have to become that 10,000 photographer first, and stop like, should I raise my prices? Should I not? You being in your creative genius and being the artist, and getting back to the roots of why you decided to be a photographer in the first place is because you love people and art and seeing the world in a different way. Get back to that, and the pricing is going to follow, and you almost don't even have to worry about the pricing after that.
That was good. I love that. That was
Mic
awesome,
drop.
D'Arcy. Mic drop. Okay, so our listeners are going to listen to this episode. They're going to put their phone down. What is one quick thing that they can do immediately after this episode to try and level up their brand or to attract, these higher end clients? Like, where do you think that they should start? Is it like maybe Instagram? Is it their website? Is it some of the copy? Is it their portfolio, their bio on their profile?
So here's the piece of homework I give all my students. You take every image that's on your homepage and you pull it into a mood board, and you see if it looks like a consistent brand, or if it looks like 10 different photographers are trying to book you.
I've never heard that one before. That's awesome.
Look at how the
recommendations for
editing
like,
is.
geez, like use Canva. What do you use as your mood board?
Yeah, I have a mood board template I can send you guys. We just do Canva. If you remind me, we can put it in your show notes. But yeah, I just do it in Canva, and you just you drag and pull them all in there, everything that's on your homepage. And then you look at it really objectively, or you have somebody else who can objectively look at it, because a lot of photographers keep bad photos in their portfolio because they had a good time taking them. They really liked the couple, or they loved the moment, but other people looking at it from the outside are like, I don't get this one moment here. Nothing's happening for me here. So that is the first thing, and then from there, you have to really decide what I have all my students go through. I have a brand word bank that I created. They have to go on there and they have to choose the 3 words that their brand is committed to. And then they have to filter every image they put out through those 3 words. And if it doesn't match those 3 words, they're not going to put it out there, because that's how you build like a really niche brand that's really cohesive. And you have to, as they say in writing, you have to kill your darling. So there are going to be some photos that aren't going to make it in there, and that's okay. But then when you show up to do your next shoot and you have those words in your mind, then you will start shooting in that way. And then you will start bringing in the clients that want to be seen in that way.
Yes. I love that. That's so
great.
practical.
Yeah.
Listeners, that would go do all of that. That was so good. D'Arcy, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It has been amazing to be on here with both of you. It's so good. I love talking about business stuff.
Absolutely. Hey, y'all, make sure you follow D'Arcy over on Instagram. We'll get a link in the show notes for her account, D'Arcy Benincosa. Check out her website, d'arcybenincosa.com. Again, in the show notes. And then you dropped a couple ideas on some other resources that you have, and so if you can send those over to us, we'll get those added to the show notes below, so that you guys can grab that Canva template, the portfolio one. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
D'Arcy, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Just to have fun, be creative, be luxury. Don't just get paid well so that you can support yourself and follow your heart. And it's okay if you want to be luxury and somebody else is like, I'm anti. Great. Yeah. That's fine. There's room for everything, and just follow what you want to do, what your brand muses are, where you want to go. And don't feel bad if you like to photograph things in a chateau. That's great. Or if you want to photograph things out in a field, but you've got to decide and then make every decision in your business from that decision, which creatives have a hard time deciding. So make that decision, let it blossom and grow. And then once you've broken into that 10, 15K budget, you have a lot more freedom then to change up and not be as niche. You can kind of go and do whatever kind of wedding you want after that, because your reputation will be there. And once you have the reputation, you don't have to be as strict on your brand. Again, like there are photographers who have a great reputation who haven't updated their website in 12 years because they don't need to, because they get booked no matter what, right? But most of us are not there yet. So we have to take the steps to build the brand. Then we get the reputation. Then the reputation will sell itself. That's
awesome. D'Arcy, thank you again. Listeners, if you haven't already, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. If you want to go and take a look at us, not just listen, check us out on YouTube. We're broadcasting this on video, and so it's awesome just to actually connect with D'Arcy, to actually put a face to the names. So we'd love to have you over on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe us over there. Hey, until the next episode of the podcast, keep showing up
and be kind to yourself.